Welcome back to our channel, everyone. Today is a beautiful, vibrant day to dive deep into the latest happenings in Port Charles. And we are absolutely buzzing with excitement over the recent twists. Grab your coffee, settle in, and let's talk about the absolute masterclass in character dynamics currently unfolding on our screens. I felt an immediate rush of pure, unadulterated joy when Ethan Lovett stepped back onto the screen during the Friday, April 17th episode. The way the camera panned up to reveal Nathan Dean's signature smirk as he ran into his sister Lulu Spencer was nothing short of electric. When Lulu looked at him, completely taken aback, and asked who he was running from this time, I felt such a profound sense of relief. To me, that specific line of dialogue proved that the writers completely understand Ethan's core DNA. He is a rogue, a survivor, and someone who perpetually carries trouble in his wake. I think the writer's choice to reintroduce him through Lulu's skeptical, exasperated sibling lens was brilliant because it immediately grounded his return in rich family history rather than just dropping him into a random action sequence. I genuinely think we're missing the point if we don't recognize the sheer brilliance of Ethan walking into Sonny Corinthos' orbit right now. As teased in the April 20th spoilers, when I watched the preview of Ethan stepping into Sonny's space asking for a job, I actually got chills. I feel like this is the best they've written Sonny's strategic mindset in months. Because when Sonny looked at Ethan, you could see the gears turning in his head. The lighting in Sonny's office seemed to shift, casting a deliberate shadow over the space where Jason Morgan usually stands. I love the way the director framed that shot. Ethan, standing tall, relaxed but alert, filling the physical void left by Jason. In my opinion, having Ethan step in as Sonny's right-hand man, while Jason is locked away in WSB custody, is a stroke of absolute narrative genius. I know a lot of people are saying this storyline is a disrespectful way to sideline Jason, or that Steve Burton's temporary exit is hurting the show's momentum. I've seen the complaints that Ethan doesn't fit the traditional mob enforcer mold, but I actually think this temporary exit is exactly what's needed, because I feel like it forces Sonny out of his comfort zone and forces the narrative to evolve. The way I see it, Jason is a hammer, and right now Sonny doesn't need a hammer, he needs a scalpel. Jason's stoicism is legendary, but Jen Sidwell is a mastermind who anticipates brute force. I believe Ethan's chaotic, unpredictable conman energy is the exact weapon Sonny needs to blindside Sidwell. When Ethan offered his services, the slight tilt of his head and the confident cadence in his voice made me feel like we are about to watch a high-stakes chess match rather than a traditional mob shootout. The way I interpret it, Sonny is drowning right now, and his desperation makes this new alliance incredibly compelling. In Monday's episode, when ADA Justine Turner warned Sonny about the extreme level of danger he is in, revealing that Sidwell now blames him for Jordan Ashford's horrific car crash, I felt a genuine knot in my stomach. Maurice Benard's acting in that moment was phenomenal. He masked Sonny's panic with that classic Corinthos bravado, but his eyes told a different story. I think Sonny realizes that with Jason gone, his defenses are critically compromised. I feel so incredibly validated by Sonny's decision to hire Ethan because it shows that Sonny is adaptable. He isn't just waiting around for Jason to be freed, he is actively recruiting the smartest, most resourceful rogue in town to protect his empire. I believe Sonny looking at Ethan and seeing the ghost of Luke Spencer is one of the most emotionally resonant choices the writers have made all year. We all know the deep, complicated, and fiercely loyal friendship Sonny shared with Luke. When Sonny smiled at Ethan in the preview, I felt a wave of nostalgia wash over me. I think Sonny trusts Ethan not just because of his skills, but because of his bloodline. The way I see it, hiring Ethan is Sonny's way of honoring Luke's legacy. I love the subtle softening of Sonny's posture when he agreed to take Ethan on. It was as if he was silently acknowledging that Luke's son is exactly the kind of wildcard he needs in his corner. It makes me feel so deeply connected to the show's rich history, proving that the past still heavily influences the present. Of course, we have to talk about Ric Lansing's absolutely delicious paranoia in all of this. When Ric stepped out of the shadows and suggested to Sonny that Ethan might actually be a plant sent to infiltrate the organization, I literally cheered at my screen. I feel like this is the best they've written Ric in ages because it perfectly utilizes his legal, cynical, and naturally suspicious mind. I think the friction between Ric and Ethan is going to be the secret weapon of this storyline. I love the way Ethan barely even registered Ric's hostility, brushing it off with that effortless Lovett charm. In my opinion, Ric's warnings serve to heighten the tension, making me feel the immense risk Sonny is taking. It makes the payoff of Ethan's eventual loyalty or potential betrayal that much more intoxicating. I feel so incredibly validated by Ethan's underlying motivations here because to me, it finally proves that the writers haven't forgotten the lore surrounding Jen Sidwell. Ethan isn't just looking for a paycheck from the local mob boss, he has a deeply personal vendetta. I think we all remember the sheer terror Sidwell inflicted upon Holly Sutton and Lucky Spencer. The way I interpret Ethan's subtle jaw clench when Sidwell's name was mentioned tells me everything I need to know. Ethan is a son seeking vengeance for the danger his family was put in. I believe this shared enemy makes the alliance between Sonny and Ethan practically unbreakable. It makes me feel so invested in their partnership because it's not just business, it's profoundly personal for both men. I know a lot of fans are complaining that the Jen Sidwell storyline is dragging or that Sidwell's revenge tour is becoming repetitive. But I actually think the slow burn is exactly what's needed because I feel like it allows for these intricate, character-driven alliances to form organically. If Sidwell were defeated in a week, we would never get to see this fascinating dynamic between Sonny, Ric, and Ethan. I think the pacing is brilliant because it allows Sidwell's terrifyingly calm menace to permeate every corner of Port Charles. When Sidwell was shown grieving Marco at the church, his cold, calculated fury made me feel a genuine sense of dread. I believe Sidwell is the best villain we've had in years, precisely because his grief makes him unpredictable. And that unpredictability requires a wild card like Ethan to counter it. I think the writer's choice to have Ethan catch up with Christina Corinthos Davis before his official meeting with Sonny was a masterstroke of character integration. When Ethan and Christina shared that flirty, nostalgic catch-up session, I felt a rush of warmth. I believe the writers are deliberately reminding us of the deep interconnected roots Ethan has in this town. I think back to how fiercely protective Ethan was of Christina during the dark days of her abusive relationship with Kiefer Bauer. The way I see it, Ethan has always had a soft spot for Sonny's family. I loved the way Christina's eyes lit up when she saw him. It made me feel like Ethan isn't just an employee to the Corinthos family, but a trusted protector. This history makes Sonny's decision to hire him feel earned and grounded in established emotional truth. I feel like the visual storytelling in these recent episodes has been absolutely top tier. I love the way the camera lingered on Ethan's leather jacket and relaxed stance when he stood in Sonny's office, contrasting so sharply with Ric's rigid tailored suit. It visually communicates exactly who these men are and how they operate. I think the directing choices are actively enhancing the script, making me feel the weight of Jason's absence without needing a character to explicitly state it in every scene. The way I interpret it, the physical space between Sonny and Ethan in that scene was filled with unspoken mutual respect. It's those subtle, unspoken moments that remind me why I am so fiercely loyal to this show. Let's rewind for a moment to Ethan's initial return on the pier, and that strange voicemail he left. I genuinely think we're missing the point if we just gloss over that detail. I feel like Ethan is carrying a massive secret, potentially tied to Delilah Wilson, or even Jacinda Bracken's time in Australia. I think the writers are brilliantly layering Ethan's narrative. He is Sonny's new right-hand man, yes, but he is also a man with his own complex hidden agenda. I believe this duality is what makes Nathan Dean's portrayal so captivating. When Ethan smirked and deflected Lulu's questions, I felt a thrill of anticipation. The way I see it, Ethan is going to be spinning multiple plates, managing Sonny's mob war, while simultaneously unraveling his own personal mysteries, and I am entirely here for the ride. I feel an overwhelming sense of anticipation regarding how Ethan's protective streak is going to collide with Lulu's current romantic entanglement. We know Cassius Faison is masquerading as Nathan West and dating Lulu. I think it is only a matter of time before Ethan's highly tuned con man radar detects that something is fundamentally wrong with Nathan. I believe Ethan will be the one to expose Cassius, and I feel like his position within Sonny's organization will give him the resources to do it. The way I interpret the current canvas Ethan is being positioned as the ultimate disruptor. I love the way he looked at Lulu with that classic big brother concern. It made me feel completely confident that he will burn the world down to keep her safe from Sidwell and Cassius. I interpret Ethan stepping up to help Sonny as a fascinating, poignant parallel to what is currently happening with Danny Morgan. Danny is desperate to align himself with Sonny's mob to take down Sidwell and bring Jason home, but Sonny rightfully turned him away to protect him. I think Ethan arriving and taking that spot is a brilliant narrative bridge. I feel like Ethan will become a surrogate mentor to Danny during Jason's absence. The way I see it, Ethan understands the burden of having a legendary, dangerous father, Luke Spencer, and can relate to Danny's angst better than anyone. I believe the writers are setting up a dynamic where Ethan protects Jason's son while simultaneously filling Jason's shoes. And that layered storytelling is why I am so deeply in love with the show right now. I think the emotional core of Ethan's return was perfectly cemented in his highly anticipated reunion with Tracy Quartermain. When Tracy looked at Ethan and admitted how much he reminds her of Luke, I felt tears prick my eyes. I love the specific vulnerability in Jane Elliott's performance in that moment. I believe this scene was crucial because it anchored Ethan not just to the mob world, but to the emotional legacy of the Quartermains and the Spencers. I feel like the writers are giving Ethan a 360-degree integration into the canvas. He isn't just a plot device to replace Jason. He is a fully realized character, stepping back into a world that deeply missed him. The way I interpret it, Tracy's acceptance of Ethan validates his presence in Port Charles and gives him a profound emotional anchor. I know some viewers are anxious about Steve Burton's return and how it will impact Ethan's new role, but I actually think the eventual collision between Jason and Ethan will be television gold. I feel like watching Jason return to find Luke Spencer's rogue son operating as Sonny's right-hand man will create the most delicious, compelling tension. The way I see it, Jason operates on strict loyalty and protocol, while Ethan operates on instinct and improvisation. I believe their eventual dynamic will be the highlight of the year. I think the writers are brilliantly using Steve's temporary exit to build a new pillar in Sonny's world, ensuring that when Jason does return, the landscape of the Corinthos organization will be fundamentally, excitingly altered. In my opinion, this specific storyline, Ethan Lovett stepping out of the shadows to stand beside Sonny Corinthos against the terrifying threat of Jen Sidwell is General Hospital at its absolute peak. I feel so incredibly invested in every single look, every line of dialogue, and every subtle shift in allegiance. I love the way Monday's episode set the stage for this new era. I believe that by leaning into the history of Luke Spencer, the paranoia of Ric Lansing, the grief of Jen Sidwell, and the undeniable charm of Ethan Lovett, the writers have crafted a masterpiece of daytime drama. The way I interpret the text, we are witnessing the birth of a legendary new partnership, and I cannot wait to see how Ethan shakes up the established order of Port Charles. This is character-driven storytelling at its finest, and I am savoring every single second of it.